Welcome back, AP Macroeconomics students. Today we're going to talk about topic 4.4, banking and the expansion of the money supply. Something to remember, we talked about the spending multiplier earlier. It's based on how much people save, while the money multiplier is based on how much banks keep in reserve. With the spending multiplier, one person's spending becomes another person's income. With the money multiplier, which we'll learn about today, one person's savings becomes another person's loan. The concept that we'll be looking at is what's considered fractional reserve banking, when banks hold a portion of deposits to cover potential withdrawals and then loan the rest out of the money. Money multiplier assumes that the reserve ratio in the US is 10%, which means if you deposit $1,000 in the bank must hold on to $100 or 10%. This is called the required reserves. The bank can then lend $900 out to Bob. These are considered excess reserves. Bob deposits that $900 in the bank. This bank has to hold on to $90. It can then loan out $810 to Jill, and so on and so forth. So far, the initial deposit of $1,000 caused the creation of another $1,710, Bob's $900 plus Jill's $810. Therefore, the money multiplier equals 1 over the reserve requirement ratio. Another concept that's important for this section are bank balance sheets. Demand deposits is money deposited in a commercial bank in a checking account. Required reserves are the percent that banks must hold by law. Excess reserves are the amount that the bank can loan out. And a balance sheet is the record of the bank's assets, liabilities, and net worth. Are demand deposits in a bank an asset or a liability? Well, they're a liability for the bank, but an asset to the depositor. Here's an example of a bank balance sheet. Notice we have assets on the left and liabilities on the right. Loans, reserves, and treasury bonds. The total is $10,000 if you add those up. And their liabilities would be $5,000 plus $5,000 equal $10,000. It's considered balanced because the totals are equal. If the bank is holding no excess reserves, how much is the required ratio? 10%. If Bob deposits $1,000 in the bank, looking at this new bank balance sheet, what is the required reserve ratio? Will M1 money supply initially go up, down, or stay the same? How much is the required reserves? How much is the excess reserves? How much more can the bank initially lend out? And what's the maximum change in money supply from the deposit? Same thing using different components. This is a video that shows you some bank balance sheet practice, some questions, and an FRQ for the video explanation. Last video on how banks create money.